Hey everybody, it's Glenn with Pet Food Puzzle Guy, and it's still September, so I am still outside enjoying the beautiful weather. It's about 6 p.m., so the sun's going down over the mountains, and it's gorgeous out here. So wherever you are, I hope the weather is making you happy. So today I'm gonna do a two video series, and I think I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I think it's kind of important. If you're a pet parent, you're dealing with trying to get advice, of course, from the internet. But as far as in person, you can go into a pet food store or a pet store that carries food. And you also, of course, can ask your veterinarian. And there's definitely, I have worked in veterinary clinics for, for 34 years, as most of you know, as a Hills rep. So I've been in, probably hundreds of clinics in about 3 or 4 states, some in the east, some in the west. So definitely gotten my share of feedback from veterinarians and how they think and how things go in the vet clinic. But I also was a pet retailer. If you watch my video on how I got to this point of my career, I ran pet stores, both franchise and independent pet stores. And so I kind of understand, I kind of have a heart for pet retailers because I was one and I understand that world. So I thought, let's go ahead and compare, because you as the pet parent are trying to figure out, who do I believe or who do I trust, because both are giving you, hopefully both are giving you advice on pet food. I'm sure they are. And which one's accurate and what's the motivation behind each one as to why they're even sharing information with you. So so in these two videos, this first one we're going to talk, or not talk, but we're going to go through a video from a live stream Q&A of a pet retailer or pet food retailer on the Eastern Coast and in the United States. And then we'll do, on part 2, we'll do Sam, who is a retailer in the UK who has a chain of stores, and he does a number of videos out there. And we'll look at his one of his videos dealing with veterinarians. And again, Allison is more diplomatic and discreet, but honest, I think, in her opinions. Sam is a little more passionate, a little more in your face. But what you'll see is, as we go through both of them, they both seem to have the same attitude and the same opinion. So, and that's why I want to make sure that we address that. So let's go ahead and get started with Allison from the pet store in North Carolina. And she's doing a Q&A, and we're just going to jump right in when the question goes to veterinarians and how much they know about nutrition.
Most vets in vet practices are not experts on pet nutrition, and it's not their fault. They do not get a lot of nutrition education when they're going through vet school. Why? Because there's so many other things to cover. They have to learn so much, they have to cover so much. There's so very little pet nutrition that they get offered in vet school. And when they do receive it, it is from Royal Canin, Purina, and Hill Science Diet. So I ask you, if those are the companies that are providing their nutrition information, that is the nutrition information that they come to you with, is what is provided by those companies. And those companies are specifically going to provide information that benefits their companies.
Okay, so I'm going to stop right there. So two things Allison says that are important, and we hear this I hear this all the time. And if you've been on YouTube in this pet food debate, you hear it as well. One is that veterinarians are not experts in nutrition. The other is that anything they know, they've learned from the big three, as Sam will say, Purina, Hills, and Royal Canin. So let's take a look at each one of those. Are veterinarians experts at nutrition? I would say no. Kind of like what she said, which is true. They have a lot to learn, more than I can even imagine, and to keep up with even once they're done with vet school. So I don't know that I would say they're experts in nutrition. Now, would if I asked her, if I threw that right back and said, "Are you, as a pet retailer or a pet food retailer, are you an expert in nutrition?" And we'll get to that in a little bit. But I will tell you this: if you look at a veterinarian, and I've said this in other videos, most veterinarians understand no, they don't need to be a expert in nutrition because there are board certified nutritionists that are the experts, the true experts. There's less than 100 of them in the country. Those are the people. It takes about, oh geez, I think it's like 12 years to get to that level. They are the experts. They are the ones that spend years and millions of dollars, if the company can afford it, for them to do research, sometimes in America, sometimes all over the world, and to come up with the discoveries that today we have. So many discoveries, all the knowledge we have about feline and canine nutrition clearly came from millions of dollars worth of research and years of research. So a veterinarian in a clinic, and I've shared this before. You're a young veterinarian. You start at a clinic and you find out that yeah, you're not an expert really in anything at that point. Let's face it. Everybody starts and then learns from experience. Book learning is not the ultimate. Experience is. And you get in that clinic and you find, hey, for urinary cases, what are my colleagues, the doctors that have been vets for years, sometimes decades, they're using Hill's CD Multicare, or they're using Purina UR, or whatever diet they're using, and they swear by it because it works. So they go ahead and use it. The young veterinarian is like, oh, okay, I want to look good. I want to dissolve those urinary stones. I want to be a good veterinarian. So they start using the same product and they see it work. And voila, you have this cycle of continuing to recommend diets that work. Some of those veterinarians, I would say maybe 50%, will actually get into nutrition. It'll kind of be their thing. You know, there's vets that are into dentistry. There's vets that love surgery. That's all they want to do is surgery. There's vets that love nutrition. The ones that love nutrition, I loved working with. They were my favorite, obviously. And they become pretty good. Expert, I'm reluctant to use the word expert ever, but they become very knowledgeable and they dig deeper. They go to the lectures. They have people like me come in and share what's new going on in Topeka and in the research, what I know about what's going on with Royal Canin's research, and I keep them up to speed, and they love it. Other doctors, hey, you know what? Nutrition is really not my thing, but I do want to look good with my client. So yes, if I have a renal patient come in, I send them home with KD, and I am very confident it's going to do the job. So so that's kind of why a veterinarian is taking the information, and yes, they're learning it from Royal Canin, they're learning it from Hills, they're learning it from Purina, from their top board certified nutritionists most of the time. This retailer, Allison, does she have a now? Her problem is, well, there's a conflict of interest because they're only going to talk about what's good for them. They're only going to promote their foods. Well, they're not going to talk about Royal Canin or whatever. If they're Hills veterinarian and vice versa, they're going to talk about their research. But you have to understand research. It's all peer reviewed. I mean, other board certified nutritionists that aren't working for that company will read those reports. They will see that stuff. And if it's just self promotion and the theories or these solutions that or the conclusions, I'm sorry, that they're coming to in that research, if it's all bogus just to promote a new food or something, it's going to be exposed pretty easily. They're going to know, okay, that this is a bunch of bogus here. Sure, the veterinarian in the clinic, they're not going to know that. But the other qualified board certified nutritionists would very quickly learn, you know what, we don't really trust anything that comes out of Royal Canin because it's all just bogus, or everything Hills does, you could see the slant, you could see the bias, it's just not a good scientific model, blah, blah, blah. So, so the fact that, oh, they're only going to promote, you know, all the information is swayed or biased toward their company, that it is pretty tough to do because of the fact that everybody's looking at it. As a matter of fact, maybe later on I'll even share one controversy between Royal Canin and Hills based on research, not based on marketing. And now they have a difference of opinion. And it was up to me to share that with veterinarians and let the veterinarians decide. It's not like both those three companies got together and said, okay, we're going to say this, this, and this so we can help sell our foods. No, at times it's like, well, we've done research and we believe A is the best plan. And then somebody else will do the research and, well, based on our research and our interpretation of all this, we think B is a better alternative. And then it's up to the veterinarian to decide. So that's to say, oh, only because it's coming from Hills, Royal Canin, and Purina. I guess my question to Allison would be, Allison, who would you like to teach these veterinarians about nutrition? Would you like it to be some of the people that you are trusting about nutrition, which we'll get to in a minute, that are not board certified nutritionists, that just kind of have nutritional philosophies or they have whatever? Veterinarians, especially in vet school, everything goes along with that scientific model. Show me the clinical evidence of your claim. And if it's just because it's some philosophy, that's not going to fly in vet school. Okay. So after vet school, sure, vets are open to meet with anybody they want to meet with. But in vet school, it's pretty stricted. You've got to prove yourself and show that you should be lecturing these students and not that you're just some fly-by-night food company with some new idea.
I would also point out that some veterinary clinics, not all, but some veterinary clinics are actually owned by companies that also own pet food companies.
Okay, now she's touched on something that both she and I probably would agree with. I have a problem. I do see it as kind of conflict of interest or monopoly, whatever, but Mars Candy Company, the Mars family, it's family owned. It's not even, you can't even buy stock in it. Mars is the largest employer now of veterinarians in the world. And the reason is because they are buying up vet clinics like crazy in America, in Europe, pretty much everywhere. And it's pretty scary. It's one of the reasons I decided it was time to retire, because I saw the control when Mars takes over a vet clinic. The veterinarians there lose, depending on the chain. Every chain, there's Banfield, there's VCA, there's some other groups. Each one is actually operated a little differently, but basically they lose a lot of autonomy as far as the veterinarian, Dr. Glenn, making his own decisions about what procedure he wants to do or what food he wants to recommend, whatever. A lot of that now is coming from the corporate, leaders upstairs that are looking at what? Dollars and cents. So that does bother me. It's one of my biases. I guess I am biased here, but I will always recommend go to an independent veterinarian that's not under the control of Mars. Now, Hills does not own any vet clinics in America. Purina doesn't own any vet clinics in America. This is just a Mars thing. But she is right about that. So you don't want to get me started on the corporate takeover of the veterinary profession, because it's sad and I hate seeing it. So my little plug would be, if you have an independent veterinarian, stick with them, only because they have total freedom to take their education, take their experience, and apply it to the care of your animal. And I have to say, please understand me, there's some awesome, passionate, compassionate, wonderful veterinarians in these Mars owned clinics. They just don't have as much control as they used to when they were independent. Okay, so I just want to make that clear.
So it gets a little tricky when you start digging into these waters, because sometimes you have to follow the money. And I am not in any way, hear me, I am not in any way calling out any vet. I am not calling out vets as a whole. They are not experts in pet nutrition. They truly are not experts in pet nutrition. But it is not their fault. It's just not their fault.
Okay, so I do love that she, it's not vets' fault that they are not experts on nutrition. They have to focus on other things. Okay, let me try to give you a comparison, since I've been in both worlds, the vet clinic and as a pet retailer. She is basically claiming, I guess, that the veterinarian is influenced by the big three, the nutritionists at Hills, Purina, and Royal Canin. I would say that is absolutely true. I'm glad, because those are the people that actually know what they're talking about, and that's what I want veterinarians learning from the experts. She, on the other hand, is a retailer, And I loved managing pet stores. If you're a pet person, being surrounded by pet supplies, when I used to train my staff, I would tell them, don't sell anything. Just really listen to the pet parent, find out what their needs are, and there'll be a product or something we have here to help them. So don't get into selling. This isn't a selling job like in some other retailer places like Best Buy or whatever. We all have pets. We all know there's needs, there's problems, there's all kinds of challenges. Just know the products well enough and match them up with a product that's going to solve their problems. So I loved it, and I think my staff loved that approach too. We were not there to sell, but we were still retailers. We were still there to make money. And what I found was that I would count on the companies that I had in my store, whether it was food or fish supplies or whatever, I would trust them or challenge them. Hey, you need to train me on your product so that I can turn around and sell it. And if you get into sales, those of you that are in sales know this, it's all how you present something as to whether or not the customer decides to buy. So what I'm getting at is that this lady here, who I can tell is very high quality, very sincere, loves what she does. And again, I appreciate that. But her world is basically here's all these products and here's all these companies. The sales and marketing of that company are the people influencing her. And those that have the best stories will influence her the most. And then what's the great thing about being a retailer is you take that story from brand X and you just repeat it. And you find, well, that wasn't real effective, but if I just tweak a little this way, the customer loves it and she buys every time. That's what retailers do. Good retailers, anyway. Okay. And again, I consider myself pretty good. Not to be dishonest to the pet owner, especially if we believe they really needed that product. If we believe that, but you get very good at deciding here's the best way to present this product to the customer to get them to buy. So it really comes down to the veterinarian is definitely being influenced, but the vet's being influenced by board certified nutritionists, decades of research. And again, veterinarians are kind of biased toward research. That's why they're in the field they're in. They love research, they love clinical data, that kind of thing. Allison, I hope that's her name, but whatever, we'll use Allison as her name. Even as a high quality, committed retailer, her world is not getting influenced from experts. She's getting influenced from the sales and marketing of a company. And again, whether it's a pet food company, whatever. So there's the distinction. So even a great retailer is not lying, but again, are they really getting accurate information or just really good, effective information?
So, in that, I say, I have been doing a pet nutrition course and continue to work on that. I take nutrition courses all the time, as do my staff, that are not underwritten by pet food companies. We do research, we watch the research, and we pay really close attention to what's going on and what's known.
The other thing that I have to mention, which is so funny, we hear this all the time. Oh, the vets are just in it for money. Hills and Royal Canin and Purina, they're just influencing the vets for profit. Blah blah blah. She's so against those companies that spend literally tens of millions of dollars in research. I mean, they do. That's just a fact. She doesn't like them making money, but it's okay that the videos she's watching and the research she's getting from these other companies, oh, what about them making money? Are they making money? And it just came up on my Facebook, and I'll try to attach it here. But these certifications, the certified pet nutritionist, all that kind of silliness. Here's one that came up, and I'm going to research to find out how much it actually costs to do this certification. But anybody can certify anybody in any kind of role of pet nutrition. It's not a protected term, as I hear people say. Um, so board certified nutritionist is a real thing. Everything else is made up. I'm going to go, I don't have it in front of me, but I will, and I'll show you. here's an ad for me to get certified as a holistic pet nutritionist. And if I can get to where the cost is, I will show it to you, because it's so ironic. It's like everybody else there that Allison believes is just teaching her and educating her. They're not out for profit. It's just the veterinarians and the big three that are out for profit. And again, if you're a retailer, you're there for one reason. I'm sorry. You're there to help the animals and help the customers and all, but it's to make money. It's to make a profit. But I definitely want to look at that certification to see, oh, they're out to just help animals, and you have a passion for animals. Oh, but here's how much it costs to get our certification, so you can go out and educate other people on all the stuff we taught you.
Now, there are veterinary nutritionists out there, and there are vets out there that support holistic feeding. They support raw feeding. They have a couple of vets that shop here and get raw diets. And so it is not to say that the vet community agrees wholeheartedly on nutrition or feeding.
And here you could kind of see her bias a little bit, that, oh, it's not like all veterinarians trust Royal Canin, Hills, and Purina, or the conventional nutrition science. No, some of them are holistic, and they're holistic veterinarians and holistic nutritionists. Again, when we don't trust the word nutritionist, especially when with holistic in front of it. That usually means they have absolutely no training in nutrition, or they got certified by some silly certification out there, and they're just preaching. They're preaching philosophy. They're preaching to do what? To sell something, not just for the good of humanity or for animal kingdom. They're all in it for a profit. I mean, that's why I love the fact I am not sponsored by anybody. I can say whatever I want about anything, right from the heart, and be totally honest with you, because that's what you need on YouTube. You need honest people that are trying to educate you and not influence you into buying something. Okay, now I want to show you the danger of a retailer that's just taking in all the local or recent fads and all the trends and everything. And this lady goes through and she talks about DCM. We all know dilated cardiomyopathy. Big debate. There's still more questions than answers. Of course, she believes it's not diet related in any way, shape, or form. The experts aren't sure about that, but she is, based on her research. but that's okay. That's one of those issues that I don't want to really get into. There's people much smarter than me that can't figure it out, so I'm not going to have an opinion on it. Just remember, grain-free was just marketing. There was no nutritional need for it. So if there's any concern, just avoid grain-free diets. You're not harming your pet by doing so. And DCM is still very real. And again, there's too many questions out there. But when she's done talking about DCM, she then says this about cats. And the reason I stuck this in is because, again, this is a result of what you get from a very dedicated person that loves animals, wants to do their best for animals, is there to help the pet parents out there. But again, because of her limited exposure and bias, let's face it, that's what drives this. She has listened to the wrong people, and this is her opinion on cats.
I will add, the one last thing about this I will add is that cats should not have any grains at all. They are obligate carnivores. This conversation should never have happened about cats. Cats do not need grains. Cats should not eat grains. And we are emphatic that they really should eat an all wet diet. And so the fact that we have pulled cats into this at all, cats should not be involved in this argument. Cats cannot synthesize taurine on their own. So they really need an organ-rich diet, raw, freeze-dried, or canned, but make sure, if you're doing canned, that there is taurine added in, because cats cannot synthesize taurine on their own. But this most recent conversation about cats needing grains is incredibly false, and probably one of the biggest falsehoods out there. And it can lead, cats eating grains can lead to diabetes, and thyroid issues in cats. So I would really, really tell you, if somebody tells you that cats require grains, you need to know they do not know anything about pet nutrition. Pet nutrition is very clear on this. Cats are obligate carnivores. They should not have grains.
Oh, there's so many things in there. Where do I start? First of all, She is right that cats, being true carnivores, cannot produce taurine like dogs and people can from other amino acids. So that is totally true. So that makes them an obligate. They're obligated to have meat protein to get this amino acid taurine. They can't even store it. That's why they need it every day in their diet. Um, that is the end of her with anything that is correct. Everything else she says in that statement, sorry, it's a little long, is totally false. And this is the problem when you're in the position to counsel people and all you're doing is getting your information from people that don't know what they're talking about. I will say it's tricky. She says one thing that, if they say cats require grains, then they know nothing about nutrition. And the key word is require. They'll throw that out all the time, that even the board certified nutritionists will say they're not required to have grains. But the fact is, when you talk to real nutritionists, not holistic pet nutritionists, not make believe nutritionists, not pet retailers, but people that actually know what they're talking about, and you can Google this, it's not that hard. But grains are definitely bioavailable for cats. They provide minerals, they provide all kinds of benefits. Just like carbohydrates, corn gluten meal, we can get protein, amino acids, we can get energy, all kinds of fatty acids. She's just wrong. I hate to just come out and say it, but whenever I hear that, that's the product of the current pet food marketing gurus out there. But it's not based on any science. It's totally wrong. The other thing she says, clearly she's into raw and homemade and all the other stuff, or canned. Now, canned, again, if she was a retailer 20 years ago, she wouldn't say that about any of that, including canned. I love the fact that cat people are using more canned. Vets even have made a nice switch to promoting canned more than they did years ago. That's all good. But then when she says you have to supplement taurine into a canned product, I'm sure what she's thinking. She doesn't come out and say it, but the can process, the heat, that high heat is destroying all the taurine so that it's not available. Again, great marketing. It's a myth. It's a lie. It's a lie by the people that know better. Then it turns into a myth perpetuated by the retailers that don't know better. But and of course, dry. She didn't say it, but dry would be terrible. You would never feed kibble, and it must. If they knew, it would drive them crazy to know that the best urinary and renal diets out there that save so many cats' lives. We do want them eating canned for the moisture for both those conditions. But if you talk to the Royal Canin and Purina and Hills, they will tell you the majority of cats are on dry. Not because it was recommended by the vet, but that's what the client wants. They want the convenience. They want to save money. And guess what? Those dry foods work, even though they're dry, even though they have carbs, even though many of them have grains. They do an amazing job. Why? Because they're made by nutritionists. And though I don't know this young lady, what she is, you all know I'm going to call her, the name that I use. She's an ingredientist. She's just looking at ingredients because that's what she's taught in these so-called certifications that she's studying, or these videos that she's watching by all these celebrities out there. So evening has approached and it's time for me to go. And so I hope nothing against this young lady. And I can tell from the other questions and things that she loves what she does. She's very compassionate and passionate, just like me. So the only reason that I'm highlighting her, and I'll do Sam next, is that pet parents are looking for help. They're looking for answers. But when it comes to pet food, unfortunately, pet food marketing has gotten so big that it is kind of taken over, and nutrition's gone to the wayside. And retailers like her that are really trying to do the best for animals, they're just kind of being conned, and it's pretty sad. So anyway, it's getting dark. This has gone long enough. I hope this has been beneficial, and please, part two with Sam, the retailer in England. He's a little more in your face than Allison. He's not very discreet. He's got a pretty fancy presentation, so you won't want to miss his presentation. I'll have it done in a day or two. All right. Thank you all for listening. Hope you're having a great evening. Take care.